Growing up in a small country town, there's not much to do, especially if you're a teenager who wants to go have fun. So we'd often resort to less legal methods. With this in mind, there was a really cool place in town called the Pooley Q. It was a dive bar. Now this Pooley Q was smarmy, gross, weird, creepy, but it was something to do. And it was even more alluring because I shouldn't. And when I was 17, I wasn't old enough to get into the dive bar. So I'd put on this fake mustache and say that I was 21, and it usually got me in. So one night I show up to the Pooley Q with my fake mustache on and my fake ID and my fake name, and I waltz right in like usual. So I walk in, and straight across from me, sitting at this table, is 4 or 5 guys. And in the middle there's this guy with a beret and these dark sunglasses, and he's just staring at me. And keep in mind, this place is very dimly lit, so I can't really make out what they're doing or what's going on. But it piques my curiosity, and I head over there. I walk up to see what's going on, and the guy in the beret tells me to take a seat at the table. Playing it cool, since I'm in character, I oblige. Now that I've sat down, this guy is still staring at me, and I'm confused and a little concerned. Is there something on my face? Did I insult him somehow? And then he talks. He lets me know that he's the beret boss, on account of him being the boss and wearing a beret. So I ask him what exactly he's the boss of, and then he says, "Well, I'm the boss of this little group here." At this point, I'm starting to realize I might be getting wrapped up in some gang activity. But being a teenager wanting to look cool to a bunch of adults, I stay. Then the beret boss introduces me around the table. He nods over to this guy who's also wearing sunglasses, but this guy has slicked back hair and in general was looking pretty sleazy. Untrustworthy, to say the least. And in my head, I'm like, what an unscrupulous fellow. And I'm waiting on this guy to say something, but he just kind of looks at me and is breathing real hard. And there's this single glob of spit hanging from his mouth, going up and down as he breathes, looking like it's about to detach and fall onto the table. But it never does. The beret boss informs me that his name is Jimmy Spitz, which is a fitting name, I suppose, given the saliva. And then he tells Jimmy to introduce himself to me. Jimmy looks at me and kind of mumbles something under his breath that I can barely make out. But what I gathered from it was he said he can make a bottle of cold milk warm using just his legs. It's starting to dawn on me just how weird these guys are. This is not your typical crime organization. Before I can really react, the beret boss points out the next person. Sitting across the table is Sweltering Helter, and this poor guy is covered head to toe in a very thick layer of wool. He's got scarf, beanie, wool sweater on, and he's sweating bullets. And he's looking at me, but he's also looking straight past me at the same time. He's got that sort of 1,000-yard stare thing going on. Really freaky. He wonders aloud if the dive bar has the heater on. Now, this actually happened during the summer in Texas, so it's about 98 degrees outside, even at night. I open my mouth to answer him, but then I realize I think it's a rhetorical question because he's still staring straight past me. At this point, I'm starting to wonder what their roles in the gang could be. Is this guy the muscle? Is Jimmy Spitz the brains? That can't be true. Jimmy Spitz was an idiot. One thing's for sure though, the beret boss was the boss, and he still hadn't stopped staring me down since I got there. Before I had too much time to consider the roles of the group, beret boss introduces me to the last member of the group, and this was by far the weirdest guy there. I look over to see this leering, smirking guy staring at me, also with dark sunglasses. And this is when I realized that was their thing. They all wear sunglasses. This smirking, smarmy dude is completely green. His skin is green. And he's looking at me and he's flexing his hands out in front of him, almost like he's showing off his complexion. My first thought is, wow, that must have been expensive. That's a lot of body paint. And then the more I look, the more I realize that's not paint. That's just what he looks like. Somehow, he is green. The boss tells me his name is Green Jack. Given his demeanor, I'm guessing he was the wild card because the boss didn't make him give a sentence. He just stared at me, smirking. This was around the time I decided I want out. I needed to leave and find a good excuse to get out. The boss asks me my name, and since I'm not thinking super straight given the whiplash of everything happening around me, I accidentally tell him my real name. I say my name is Noah. He then says, "Well, Noah, do you want a job?" Instantly, alarms off in my head. I know exactly what they're going to ask me to do. Every organized crime ring has a guy with a mustache who kills people. And I was not about to be a killer. Nervously, I tell him I don't think I'd make a good killer. I get sweaty hands and the knife would drop or something. I feel like I'm gonna puke as I realize that I just told them that I knew what they did. I knew too much. I was a liability now. And then the beret boss just kind of looks at me. Looks at me and looks at me. And then he chuckles. He chuckles and he says, "Oh, we're not a crime ring. We call ourselves the Scamps. The Scamps don't do nothing dangerous or painful to people. We just commit mischief and tomfoolery. We were going to invite you to go paint the ducks in the park blue, and then possibly go warm up the cool milk at the grocery store by putting it in between our legs." At this point, I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to join the Scamps because that was stupid. But I didn't want to be mean either because it seems like they really cared about this stuff. Feeling major relief that concrete shoes weren't on the menu, I told them I had to go pee and then I would come back with an answer. Instead of coming back, I left straight out the exit door near the bathroom and never went back to that bar again. Sometimes I wonder what the Scamps are up to. I wonder if Jimmy Spitz ever wiped his mouth. I wonder if Green Michael is still so green. I wonder if Sweltering Helter ever took that sweater off. I just know that wherever they are, the ducks are probably blue, and the milk is probably warm.